Welcome back to the channel, guys. This trip is to Springfield and Branson, Missouri, as well as some of the surrounding areas. We flew into the regional airport, which is small and easy to get through, so let's go. From the Springfield airport to the museum, which is in Branson, the Titanic Museum is about a 40-minute drive. Here's a fully detailed replica of the Titanic ship. Take a look at those 4 exhaust pipes. We're going to talk about those later. Once inside, you receive a passenger boarding ticket, which features the name of an actual Titanic passenger and the class in which the passenger traveled. During the tour, guests learn of their individual stories of several passengers, and at the end of the tour, you get to figure out whether or not your guest survived. Notice here you'll see a mock-up of the actual propeller that was on the ship. Notice the cream color flooring. That was linoleum. Back then, that was considered luxury. Alright, notice the exhaust pipes you talked about earlier. There were 4 built, but 3 actually worked and 1 was just for aesthetics. Notice here the 8 brave musicians that played until the ship sank because there were no lifeboats for them to board. They played until the very end. Next up, we take a short scenic ride to Top of the Rock and Big Cedar Lodge. This is a very high-end golf course, restaurant, and museum, so we decided to check out the museum. Ancient Ozark Natural History Museum is located at 190 Top of the Rock Road in Hollister, Missouri. This groundbreaking museum celebrates the rich ancient history of the Ozarks. It contains carbon-dated skeletons of ancient Missouri creatures, true-to-life dioramas of animals that once roamed the Ozarks, and several rooms featuring Native American, Indian artifacts and artwork. There are Civil War historic items and interactive displays for guests. Now, this museum is owned by Johnny Morris, and we're going to talk more about him later. Mr. Morris was so impressed by the exhibits at the world-renowned Chicago Field Museum that he commissioned the same design team to help create the amazing displays at his own Natural History Museum of the Ozarks. Hop on the road for another scenic ride over an Ozark waterway to one of our favorite places, Dogwood Canyon. Dogwood Canyon is located in Lamp, Missouri, and it's got 6.5 miles of paved paths and 9 miles of natural trails. You enter through another amazing restaurant. Now, to tour the property, you can run, walk, hike, bike, or even Segway. But the last option is you can take a tram that's pulled by a truck or an SUV. We decided to do that so we could see as much beauty as possible. Dogwood features over 10,000 acres of nature and rugged scenery. You really do escape into serenity when you enter the Ozark Mountain location. You can go trout fishing, horseback riding, take nature tours, multiple different educational tours. There's also different things you can do seasonally, and if you want to get married here, you can get married here too. The elk and bison are really friendly and used to people, so sometimes they actually walk right up to you. We jumped back on the road and went up elevation, took a stop to look at some overlooks and some Ozark waterways because they were just absolutely amazing, to the next location, which is Table Rock Dam. It is located on the White River in southwestern Missouri, 8 miles upstream from southwest of Branson, Missouri. Seeing a dam up close in person is pretty awesome. The force of water is cool to see. We then stopped by Veterans Memorial Museum, which has artifacts and history on World War I, World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam, Persian Gulf, and a few others. You will be fascinated and thoroughly humbled by this memorial to our veterans. The vast array of exhibits causes reflection and creates intense curiosity about the personal experiences of the men and women who lived in these uniforms. As you walk through the museum, there's multiple different halls that have different themes that tell you about different stories that happened during the time that people were serving for the military. Now we slide back over the top of the rock to do the cave and canyon tour via cart. This is a 2.5 mile journey in which you explore Top of the Rock Lost Canyon and nature trails. This is the first waterfall that we've seen inside of a cave, and we have done a couple of cave tours. You do about 5 miles an hour driving through and exploring the caves, and then after that it's out to see the beauty outside, which is the canyons. If you like waterfalls, you'll definitely like the Top of the Rock tour because there's quite a few waterfalls to see, and then after that, towards the end, there's a nice little overlook that you see here that puts you out a little bit into nature. Alright guys, after this we head over to a distillery. Smith Creek Moonshine is a moonshine tasting destination located in Branson Landing. There is a Moonshine tasting bar and a restaurant that features handcrafted burgers, as well as a retail store with bottle shines, apparel, jams, sauces, dry rubs, and more. Once you show up, all they do is they ask you to put your ID on the bar and you get 12 complimentary quarter shots on the house. After that, you feel pretty warm. Last stop before we head to the airport is Wonders of Wildlife National Museum and Aquarium. I told you earlier that I was going to tell you a little bit more about Mr. Johnny Morris. He owns the Top of the Rock property that we went to with the caves. He also owns all of the Bass Pro Shops, and he owns the National Museum and the Aquarium that we're looking at. This is a 350,000 square foot facility that consists of two major sections. This is the museum with interactive displays, and then we go on over to the aquarium side. This is a 1.5 million gallon aquarium that showcases 35,000 individual fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds, mammals, and more. There are dozens and dozens of different tanks that show different species and their habitats. You start on the ground floor and then you walk over about 3 different levels. There's multiple different tanks to view, and then there's one large tank that you can see as you go up the levels, and you'll see the massive fish there. If you're brave enough to swim with the sharks, then you can hop in this cage and they'll take you down, submerge you, and you can swim with the sharks. One of my favorite parts is this 180-degree tank in which you feel like you're walking through the ocean. If you have never seen jellyfish in person, they're actually quite cool. Always one of my favorite things to look at. Towards the very end was this massive lobster. It looks like he was just trying to say bye. If you made it to the end, I want to say thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. See ya!
Yeah.